Hello everybody and welcome to Wednesday's edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. Today's show is brought to you in association with Lemsip because I feel like but I'm not going to let that stop me bringing you some of the best, it's a quiet news day, I'll be honest, the best news that we can find today on the show. Are you ready for it? Stage 11 of the Tour de France is coming up at the end of the show. First up, let's catch up with everything else that's going off in world of cycling. Whoosh. First up, and let's talk about the story that happened a few days ago now. You probably already know about it. Tom Pidcock, first British rider to ever win the Baby Giro, putting him in some great company when you look at the previous winners over the past couple of years. You've got the likes of Pavel Sivakov, Alexander Vlasov, you've got Andre Adila. Now I know as a British fan I can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief because Tom Pidcock's coming through. He's destined for big things if he keeps himself fit and he keeps himself healthy and he doesn't believe his own hype. He is going places and it's great for British cycling. But what I've realised is we don't really have this glut of riders coming through like we used to. You've got the likes of Pidcock, you've got Ethan Hayter coming up through the ranks as well. Theo Geoghegan Hart, kind of a bit more experienced than those two. But really when you think back to, let's go 2006, 2007, 2008, you had the likes of, well, you had everyone. There was Geraint, there was Mark Cavendish, Ed Clancy was there, but he obviously dedicated his time to the track. Swifty, Blythe, Pete Kenyon as well, Luke Rowe. So you had this big group of riders who were coming up through the ranks and they all had their own role within professional cycling. But now they're getting to the point where they're closer to retirement age than their heyday. And hey, listen, G's probably going to go and win that Giro. Swifty's going to win next year's Milan-San Remo. So, you know, they've still got wins in them, but you kind of look for the next crop of riders to come through and you don't really see that big group of riders coming through in British cycling. However, I would love to mention in 12th place on the Baby Giro was Callum Johnson. Now, Callum Johnson rides for Team Holdsworth Zappi, and this kid, mark my words, he is going places. I remember meeting this guy back in 2014. Yeah, Commonwealth Games, all right? But he was at Scottish Cycling, wee young lad, doing his work experience at Scottish Cycling, just like, he was just amazed by everything that was going on. And I remember just sitting down with him and chatting to him and finding out about him, like what school he went to, what he was up to, what he wanted to do. And he's just this wee timid kid who was like, I want to be a professional cyclist. And he kind of looked at him and went, all right, go on then. Thinking, you know, how many kids say they want to be a professional cyclist nowadays? But boom, 12th place, second highest Brit at this year's Baby Giro. I'm telling you now, Callum Johnson, remember that name, all right? And next up, let's turn our attention now to stage 2 of the Tirreno Adriatico, nailed it, where Pascal Ackermann took another victory. That's 2 in 2 for him. And in stark contrast to stage 1, where he came from behind and took them all from behind and just slipped inside of Fernando Gaviria, this time he led it from the front, and it was just a straight up sprint between him and Gaviria, Rick Zabel and Davide Ballerini. But it was Ackermann who was able to lunge to the line and get that victory. Das ist gut. And looking at the profile for stage 3, it looks like this one isn't going to come down to a bunch sprint. There's a bit of a kick up towards the line. There's a couple of climbs in there, and the Poggio Morella is a 1.6 kilometre climb at 10.7%. So the sprinters are really going to have to work hard if they want to get up and over that and stay with the front group. But make sure you stick around tomorrow when we will be covering the result of stage 3 of the Tirreno Adriatico. All right, it's time to talk Tour de France. And before we get into stage 11, can we just rewind 2 days back to that rest day? Whoever decided that Egan Bernal should be left in charge of a pair of hair clippers to cut his own hair needs a serious talking to. I mean, look at that. Now, I know when G takes part in the Tour de France, he always has his annual haircut by his wife, but I mean, how bored can you be on a rest day to decide you want to cut your hair, first and foremost, and then second, do an absolutely terrible job of it? Hey, unless that's the style in Colombia at the minute. I don't know. I mean, what would you call that? Well, if you went into a shop and said, tried to explain, what would you say? I want the Egan Bernal. Well, you just want a mop leaving on the top and shaving around the sides? Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Not bad. Anyway, stage 11 was set to be another flat, transitional, boring stage, and it certainly delivered on that front. So the race got underway 167.5 kilometres ahead of the riders today, And the moment that Matthew Deganus turned his head, looked around, realised he had no people coming with him, he knew he was going to be in for a long bloody day. After 10 kilometres, he'd built up a lead of 1 minute and 56, and that eventually extended out all the way to 5 minutes. And unsurprisingly, the FDJ rider got caught, and it came down to a sprint. Now, I think we need to focus on this sprint. So if you haven't seen the result, look away now. But this man took his second victory of the Tour de France, but it wasn't a clean-cut sprint. Now, I want your opinions on this one. I've got my own opinion, and I'll give it to you shortly, but overhead shot of that final sprint, just check Peter Sagan on the right-hand side. You've got Wout van Aert. He's been sprinting from about 300 metres out. He was gassed, but he was still there, and he was still fighting for that victory. And then Peter Sagan creates space. There's no other way to say it. He creates space between the barrier and Wout van Aert, slowing Wout van Aert's sprint up. And, well, you tell me, what should the result of this be? After everything we've spoke about over the past couple of weeks, after everything we've seen over the past couple of weeks, yes, it's Peter Sagan, but that shouldn't matter. Yes, he's in the hunt for the green jersey. That shouldn't matter. Let's watch it again. And we just pause it here. You can see that there isn't enough space. He's had to move his bike across to the barriers, and in doing so, he's moved his body and he's shifted his weight across, which means he's now using Wout van Aert as a bit of a counterbalance to ensure that he doesn't fall over. It's reminiscent of Mark Renshaw when he was leading out Mark Cavendish that time. Yes, he was physically headbutting somebody, but if you take out the viciousness of a headbutt, the reason he was doing it was because he can't take his hands off the handlebars and he needs to let the guy know that he's there. But because he was doing it with his head, it made it look like he was being really aggressive and actually trying to headbutt somebody. He ended up getting thrown out. But really, that was probably the safest thing he could have done, because if not, a touch of wheels and everybody's coming down. So if you look at the Renshaw one and he gets thrown out for that, and in my opinion, a lot safer than what Sagan did, Sagan essentially squeezed Wout van Aert out across the road into oncoming traffic. Thankfully, nobody ended up crashing again, and maybe that will be the difference between Sagan getting a disqualification or a time penalty or a points penalty or a fine or whatever the outcome's going to be. Just want to interrupt this story. An hour later, the commissaires have finally made their decision. Peter Sagan was in fact relegated down to 85th position for his move. It was deemed to be too dangerous, and he's dropped all the way down into 85th position, which means Sam Bennett now has a 70-point lead in that green jersey competition, which, with the way Sagan's been going this past week, it's insurmountable. As long as Sam Bennett makes his way over those mountains, makes his way onto the Champs-Élysées, it's looking like that green jersey is going to Sam Bennett now. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think to this one? Should Peter Sagan have been relegated for his move, or should we have tipped our caps and said, Pete, cracking move? Leave your comments down below. And then finally in the show today, let's talk about good old Sir Bradley Wiggins at it again. So yesterday on Eurosport, plenty of people caught it, plenty of people heard it, plenty of people saw it, plenty of people thought it was a joke. A lot of people were insulted by it when he said this to Sean Kelly.
You know, he's still relatively young in cycling terms. He's a young sprinter as well, really, and it's great. We can almost consider him British. I know that you lot won't like that, will you? But, you know, I've known Sam quite a few years in terms of racing, people that don't know him personally. No, but, you know, you know, we spoke to him at the Vuelta last year when he came on our show, and, you know, it's at least we understand what he's saying. Can't really understand what you're saying, Sean, can we? But it's just...
And as you'd expect, when this blew up on Twitter, people were having their opinion, and there were lots of news headlines saying, shameless Bradley Wiggins tries to claim Sam Bennett as British. Viewers left fuming at Bradley Wiggins after comments about Irishman Sam Bennett. We can almost consider him British, Bradley Wiggins says. And as you'd expect, loads of people offended by his comments, requesting that Bradley Wiggins issues an apology to the Irish people. And Sean Kelly, if you're expecting an apology from Bradley Wiggins, I think this is probably the best you're going to get. This was him on his Instagram less than an hour ago.
I just see the news that Wiggins claims Sam Bennett is British. It was just a joke. Can I just say that it was a joke? Jesus Christ. Wiggins made the claim while sat on the sofa with Breakaway. It was a joke because Sean Kelly was sat next to me. All right? Bloody hell. Viewers left fuming. Were they? Demographically, how many were I'm sure there was, but Jesus Christ. Can we get a fucking grip? I mean, really. He's Irish. He's clearly Irish. And he's proud to be. And I'm proud he is. He's not British. Jesus Christ. Can we get a grip now? Fucking typical, isn't it? Unbelievable. Anyway, yeah, Sam Bennett's British. Very much so, right? Apologies if anyone's offended. But... anyway, alright? Love you. Ah! How dare he! How dare he! Is that left fuming? Best headline: shameless Bradley Wiggins claims Sam Bennett is British. I don't give a fuck. He's Irish. It was a joke, right? Jesus Christ. Pete, it's fucking ridiculous, isn't it? It is. This is journalism these days. Pitching tits. Oh, they're all coming through now. Fuck off, Bad. Buy yourself a geography book. Sam Bennett is 100% Irish. Well, he's not actually. He was born in Belgium, like myself. So we claim him as well. Yeah? Grow up. Stop sending me stupid fucking messages, yeah? Or no, actually, carry on. Carry on sending me messages. I love them. Yeah? Can't believe this has taken most of the day up. And anyone got better? Is it better to do? Like go to the toilet? Right, end of. Caleb won today. He's one of ours. I'm half Australian. So before you write the fucking stories, don't hammer me. Woo.
Now, in Sir Bradley Wiggins' defence, and this is only a tiny defence, all right, this is just tiny, and I don't necessarily agree with what he said. I think it was a bit crass, right? There is a stereotype that British people try and claim other people as British. British people like to try and claim. It's a bit like Andy Murray. When Andy Murray's doing well, he's British. But when he's doing crap, oh, he's Scottish, he's not. He has nothing to do with England. So I think Bradley was just playing off that stereotype that, oh, we always try and claim people once they become famous. And the other thing is, you don't really know what the relationship between him and Sean Kelly's like, because Sean Kelly to Bradley Wiggins, don't forget, is an absolute hero. Like, Bradley Wiggins knows the history of cycling inside out. So he sees Sean Kelly as one of his idols, as one of his heroes, as one of his inspirations. And you gotta think that they've got a good enough relationship that Brad can say what he said to him, which would be considered funny if the cameras weren't on and everyone, like, it would have just been a passing comment or sat on the sofa between the three of them that they probably would have laughed at and then just carried on. But because everybody else heard it, they were like, well, I'm offended by that. I don't like that. Bradley Wiggins, you're a wanker. So as ever, let me pass this one off to you, because I dare say we've got loads of Bradley Wiggins fans in here, and we've also got people who loathe Bradley Wiggins. So leave your comments down below. What do you think to his comments and his Instagram post of the offence that he caused to other people? Let me know down below. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure, if you've not done already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you've not enjoyed the video for whatever reason, hit that dislike button. And we'll be back again with stage 12 of the Tour de France, when they just start to get going up them hills and stuff. See you tomorrow.